Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Nick Simmons Show. I hope you guys had a fun time either listening to the podcast last week, wherever you get your podcasts, or of course watching the video format that is up on my newest channel, the Nick Simmons Show. So that makes 3 channels for me. My main channel, Nick Simmons, which you guys know is my viral hits channel, the Nick Simmons 2 channel, where we take some of the clips from this show and actually post them Monday through Friday, and then of course the Nick Simmons Show. Last week we had a great time talking about setting smart goals and how setting smart goals is going to help reshape your goals or maybe your wishes into something that's more attainable. And in that episode, I promised you guys that I would share my 3 secret tips that take SMART goals from, you're probably going to achieve them to a slam dunk. You are absolutely going to get this done. So I'm going to walk you through those 3 tips. Now, they're really simple tips. It's not things that are crazy like, you have to go out and raise $1 million. These are really simple tips that anyone can do. And as you're starting to set your goals, whether they're in life, in business, in relationships, or, a lot of my listeners are athletes, these are perfect ways to help you become more likely to achieve your athletic goals. These are tips that I learned when I was in high school and have helped me throughout the years, whether it was to win state titles, win U.S. titles, get my college degree, get my pilot's license, you name it. Every single time I set a goal, I do these 3 things. Number 1, it's so simple. You're not even going to believe me. I write it down. Just writing down your goal makes you 42% more likely to achieve that goal. And the first time I ever did this, I was a senior in college. Here comes a little story time for you guys. I was senior in high school, and I had a dream of one day breaking 150 for 800 meters. That was my big, audacious goal. I had run 153 as a senior in high school, and I was going on to college. And the college coach at the time, he said, "Nick, I want you to write down this on a little sticky note. I want you to write 150, live every day like a champion." And I kind of laughed at him. I was 18. I thought, this is so stupid. But I did it. I bought into what the coach was selling. I bought into his program. I wrote 150, live every day like a champion. And I put that sticky note next to my bedpost. And 9 months later, I ran 149 to win my first NCAA title. There's something about writing it down. And especially, I really believe in putting it on a sticky note where you're going to see it every day. It keeps you accountable to yourself. This is a promise that you're making to yourself. You're committing it to paper, and you're reminded of it every single day. And you make conscious decisions to make sure that you're doing everything you can to achieve that goal. Now, that brings me to number 2. You should tell someone about this goal. So once you've written it down, tell somebody. Earlier this year, I actually walked you guys through every single one of the goals that I set for myself in 2021. That wasn't just to help you guys see what was important to me. It wasn't to help you guys see how I set my goals. It was also to form a certain amount of accountability. I told you, my audience, these goals are extremely important to me. And by telling you that, it then adds a sense of accountability. And at the end of this year, we're going to go back and look at that board 12 months later. Did I accomplish those goals? I don't want to disappoint you guys. That's the level of accountability that I've now added onto my shoulders. I like that accountability. I like that responsibility. It doesn't work for everybody. Maybe you don't want to tell the entire internet what your goals are. That's okay. Tell your mom, tell your coach, tell your teammate. Just tell somebody that you trust, tell somebody that loves you that this is important to me. Keep me accountable. It'll help you a ton in waking up and working hard towards your goals. And number 3, KPIs. We talked about this a little bit last week, but KPIs, key performance indicators. When I set my big, audacious goals, always, we go through what's called the valley of despair. That's where you're so excited about your goal. The first few days, you're just crushing it. And then things get really hard. I talked about this when I was getting my pilot's license. When I first got my hands on a yoke and I was flying an airplane, the euphoria I felt, I'm like, this is amazing. There's no way I'm not going to get my pilot's license. This is the greatest feeling in the entire world. This feeling alone will carry me through to the end, which is in many cases a year-long ordeal. It took me an entire year to get my pilot's license. But when we set these big, audacious goals, after that initial feeling of euphoria, we actually begin to realize just how hard it is going to be to accomplish that goal. And so I remember as I started digging into the book work, as I started actually trying to do the maneuvers that I was going to have to be tested on, all of a sudden I almost kill it. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. At 5 hours in, I almost threw up my hands and said, I'm done. There's no way I can do this. We call that the valley of despair. And anytime you're going to try to attempt a really audacious goal, you will go through the valley of despair. This is what separates the men from the boys. This is what separates the goal achievers from the dreamers. If you are able to recognize that despair and slowly start building your way out of that hole, that's what KPIs are used for. So another example, I will keep with the flying example. So just when I was ready to throw up my hands, and so many pilots do this, so many pilots have been through this, we started talking about building KPIs that would allow me to kind of start to build some momentum. And the first one I remember was perfecting a steep turn. A steep turn is where you bank the plane at 45 degrees, and it's actually a very fun and challenging maneuver. But once you have mastered that maneuver, as simple as it is, it makes you feel in control. And then you go from there into flying to your first airport off-site. Then from there, you go into your first solo, which is actually without having an instructor. You are responsible for the plane and your life. And then you begin building out from there. So you have these measurable KPIs that allow you to feel like, okay, maybe I still feel intimidated by my big goal, but I can see the momentum getting there. You know, another perfect example for anyone who's watching this YouTube video, when Ryan and I started my main YouTube channel, it was so slow. It was going nowhere. I mean, we barely picked up a subscriber here and there, but it was growing. And I kept telling Ryan, like, if we plot this growth month after month after month, and it's still going up, it can only continue to rise. So I built in for myself KPIs, you know, these monthly indicators that were telling me that we were going in the right direction. So as you set your goals, I really want you to think, how do I set small, achievable goals that stack upon each other so that you ultimately reach that big audacious goal. Now, last week we did take some great Q&A from some of our subscribers, and we were talking about goals. I thought that it was a phenomenal exercise to walk some of our listeners through their own goal setting process. This week, if you guys want to ask me about your own goals and how to achieve those goals, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys achieve those goals and set those goals. However, I recognize that there's a lot of you out there that know that I'm the guy who says you can ask me anything. You know, a lot of YouTubers, they have no comment on a lot of subjects. I've always been the guy. You guys can ask me anything. So this week, we are going to open it back up to Q&A. And I want you guys to know you can ask me about your goal setting, but you can also ask me anything about my life as a pro runner, about my life as a business person. Whatever you guys got, nothing's off limits. Let's go to the first caller.